Greetings, beings. Are we yet asleep? What's really going on? You are listening to WTLC Blog Talk Radio, and Are We Yet Asleep is the name of our show. And you're talking with Miss J and Kim and Jesse. How's everybody doing this evening?
Good evening. Life is good.
I'm doing good.
How you doing, Miss J? All right, Kim. How you doing?
We're all good this evening. So we're going to sit here for our second time together. I had such a great time last week with our conversations, and, of course, more news has happened. So I'm really excited to see what comes up tonight. So everybody had an exciting week?
Yes, quite eventful. Quite eventful. And you?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, Kim, and I know your week was busy as well. It seems like the news never stops. I think that the news continues round and round to tell us absolutely nothing about the missing plane, for one, because I don't think there have been any new developments. And, of course, there's all manner of other things happening in politics around the world and around us in our communities. So we're going to be getting all into that very shortly. But first of all, I wanted to just find out, like, what's going on from your point of view this week. Jesse and Kim, what do you say?
Go ahead, Kim.
Well, thank you, Jesse. I didn't know who was going to go first. For me, everything has just been really cool, very chill. Maybe it's because the sun is shining finally in Atlanta. Who knows? But nonetheless, I have been kind of just paying attention to what's been happening with the Russian issue right now, hearing some of the things that are going on, some of the different theories as to why they're really trying to get over there. Of course, it's always boiling down to money, and at this point they're saying it's coal. So we'll see how that plays out. Jesse?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the show is really cool because we have an extremely different dynamic of people, us three. And I came to the show to offer maybe a little bit of a different perspective because the week for me, I look at everything from an energetic standpoint, and the week for me has been just an outright roller coaster ride. And, I always like to reach out to people to see what their experience is like, to see if it correlates with, some things that I may have been experiencing. But there's been, a lot of fluctuation with relationships. There's been a lot of trying times as far as your internal nature. And I think all of this is reflected on a world level as well. So I don't know if you guys can relate to that, but that's been what my experience has been recently.
So lots of upheaval and ups and downs. Is that what you're saying? Lots of upheaval and ups and downs and changes? I definitely can relate to that because, to be honest with you, Kim, I don't even have a real clear understanding of the whole Russian-Ukraine thing. I know there's a lot of unhappy people, at the bottom root of it. And I don't know too much about the politics between it, but it seems to me that it's just another example of us being divided against each other, brother from brother, man from man, countryman from countryman. So it's just like almost like a symptom of the disease that's wrong with us as a globe, and I don't know which side is right or which side is wrong, but I'm pretty sure at the end of the equation there's loss of lives and people displaced,
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's just I'm trying to kind of look at this from the side of view from, people wanting to westernize, as they're saying, trying to kind of get more modern with the times, trying to get out from what they view as oppression. And then you have those hardcore want to stay with traditional values, et cetera. And unfortunately, it's almost something that we see reflected here, but just on a different level. Hasn't quite jumped to the kind of issues that they're having over there, but, the same kind of tensions, I think, are underlying. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm just wondering what kind of other issues are lying in the background that we're not being told about. You know what I mean? Because there's always some, underhanded or undercover thing going on in the background. So it just is what it is at this point.
So, Kim, do you feel that the underhanded or undercover type stuff that goes on, do you feel like, with all the shenanigans that do happen on basically what's fed to us media-wise, do you feel like there's ever a point where we actually say, hey, this is exactly what's going on? Or is there always room for different interpretation? What do you think?
I think there's always room for – I think that they give us just enough truth to make us satisfied, but I don't think they always give us the full truth. I don't think there's ever full disclosure. I think that there's always some type of theater happening because there's always an end game in place, and the thing is, I saw a quote one time that I thought was very, very interesting. They said that the people who control politics are the people who control the media and control the message. And it's very true. And as long as, people are putting out the messages that they want you to hear, you're going to be okay with whatever they say. It's propaganda on a mass level. It just depends on whether it's overt or covert, but there's always something.
Right. Absolutely. What do you think, Joel, about that as far as there being ever, a specific, end-all point to, especially events like with Malaysia Airlines and everything like that? Do you think there's ever a point where everything is brought to the forefront and obvious and clear-cut?
I don't think that's necessarily where we are, and I don't think if people are looking for it to be like that, we're not ever really going to get to that place of resolution. Like, for example, I believe that if you take the JFK conspiracy, so-called conspiracy, the grassy knoll, it's been debated for years. There were commissioned studies, books, movies. People still talk about it and have their own theory about who was guilty and who wasn't, right? So we don't know the truth, but most now commonly accept that something other than what the official version is really the truth. Does that make sense? You don't have to know what the answer is to know that what you've been told is not the answer, So
that's a great point.
I think that we're at a place where people are now starting to say, well, you know what, this doesn't just sound right, or, this just doesn't feel right. It doesn't sound right that a plane would just go missing. It just doesn't sound right that this would happen, and it kind of tickles them to be a little more curious, to say, well, something just doesn't seem plausible in this story.
Right. Yeah. And I don't mean to. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jesse. I just wanted to pause her real quick on that because I have something that'll lead right off of that. Speaking on, the plane and what you're seeing and the disinformation that we sometimes get, I'm already starting to see some articles popping up about, did the plane disappear into a black hole? This is why not. And it makes me think of that picture that I showed you. Did you ever get a chance to post it up to the group?
No, not yet. For all of our listeners, we have a Facebook group that's Are We Yet Asleep? And we share their information about all the stuff that we talk about on the show, from pictures and YouTube videos, posts directly from our hosts and other people that we'll be having on as guests in the coming weeks. So, check us out. Give us a search on Facebook, AWYA, Are We Yet Asleep, to come along with the show and see some of the things that we're talking about.
Well, Joelle has seen the picture, so I'm going to let her describe what she saw, and then we'll kind of tie into the plane thing from there. What did you see on the picture, Joelle?
Well, it was a picture of some chemtrails, and the sky was very clear. And in the corner of some chemtrails was a very unusual circular white-appearing dot. So, we enlarged the picture to say, well, what is this? Because it looks a little funny. And by the time you got it blown up to the maximum resolution, it actually looked like something that was not natural. Let's just put it that way. We each experienced it a little bit differently in how we described it, but it certainly appeared to be not part of the chemtrail composition and certainly not something that we recognize from being in the normal sky. So
right.
I thought it was like a vortex or something, you know.
And I thought it had depth. It had a kind of a circular kind of twirly. It reminded me of that spiral that they talk about with the, the Hopi stories, you know, about the lights over in the north, and when it appears, then, you know, that's when the blue Kachina's coming in and all of that kind of stuff. But anyway, I digress. So who's to say that maybe something like that didn't appear? And who's to say that maybe that isn't some kind of weird portal that people talk about on, you know, YouTube that they, you know, see all the time? Who's to say that the plane didn't disappear? Who's to say that it's not some kind of weird Bermuda Triangle effect now that the magnetic poles are starting to shift a little bit? There's a lot of disinformation. You don't know. It's taken so long. Who's to say they're not trying to hurry up and build a cover-up and find some kind of way to pin it on something or somebody? It's just, the whole thing is just strange to me. If they can figure out where my phone is, if they know where on my face, if Facebook that can recognize my face now, then I think they can find a plane. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, there's so much advanced technology that we're not even, you know, savvy to that exists, and you know, there's always something going on beneath the surface. And the more and more we dig down the rabbit hole of possibilities, you know, even if your mentality is still in like a, you know, a smaller bubble paradigm where you're not open to, you know, extraterrestrials or, you know, portals or, you know, anything that's out of your 3D physical everyday world, even if you're not even there, there's still so many possibilities. And, you know, I really appreciate the opportunity for us to get together on the air and really chop it up and see what's really important. What's the real bottom line to you, to you as an individual? What's important in these kinds of stories, and how do they affect you in your own internal nature and your own reality? Because for me, I just don't see that like there's ever a definitive end all, like this is what it is, this is the truth, this is what happened, you know. Right.
There are lots of possibilities. You can see this is great conversation, and we hope that you're enjoying us so far. We ask that you just call in tonight, give us a ring, let us know about the possibilities that you're seeing and the things that aren't quite adding up or making you question what you might have already taken for truth. So we're going to take a quick break, and we hope that you'll stick around with us. Give us a call. Check us out on Facebook, and our chat room is open. So, Jesse, someone has the number for people to call in.
Mm-hmm.
And
we'll give it to you after the break. How about that?
Yeah. Oh, here we go at 347-989-8851 on WTLC Blog Talk Radio.
Did they go to a break?
I don't know. We might still be live.
Maybe not. Well,
why would you cheat on me?
Look, I know you're mad, but do you really want to know why? I have 1001 Reasons. Ladies, it's finally here. The book that tells you everything you need to know. 1001 Reasons I Cheated on You. Written by acclaimed author Robert Ford. Amazon rates it a perfect 5 out of 5 stars. It's an insightful look into the reasons why men stray, straight from the source. This informative book will help women recognize the signs of infidelity and help men to keep their game tight. 1001 Reasons I Cheated on You. Now available at Amazon.com.
Do you like giving advice, engaging in controversial topics, or helping people with relationship or life issues? Then let your voice be heard on Baltimore's #1 online radio station, WTLC Talk Radio. WTLC Talk Radio is looking to network with you. For more information, call 415-496-5233. That's 415-496-5233. If you can think it, you can bring it on WTLC Talk Radio. WTLC Talk Radio. Let us bring your vision to life and help you start your very own radio show today. WTLC Talk Radio, the station that gives you the hottest sounds and hottest topics.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Are We Yet Asleep on WTLC Blog Talk Radio. And I want to give a special shout-out to Jay Bryant of WTLC.
I think about the day I met the perfect stranger. I think about us. And I think about the day.
And we're back. This is Are We Yet Asleep on Blog Talk Radio, and we're talking about what's going on in the world right now. We're trying to find out if you're awake or are you asleep. Are your eyes open or are they shut? So we've been sitting here, Jesse and Kim and I, talking about possibilities, about truth, and about lies, and everything in between. So we know that things that we're told are sometimes not what they seem, and we kind of tend to resonate with that at an instinctive level, I think, and then also sometimes a logical level. So, you know, some of the stuff with the plane, the Malaysian plane disappearance, of course, is making us unsettled because it defies logic and scientific explanation as we know it. So some of the other things that you've seen, what are some other of the possibilities, if either of you have any instances to share? I know seeing that, you know, spectacle in the sky that was unusual was certainly something, a possibility that I had seen a lot of other people posting pictures of strange sky phenomenon, but I had never been party to someone who I knew who captured a moment like that, you know. So it kind of made it a little different as being part of the experience, to see and know this is a person who captured it with their cell phone. There was no fakery and no Photoshop, right, Kim?
That's right. I was just, let me go ahead and give this disclaimer, folks. You should never text and drive or take pictures and drive. Unfortunately, I was. And as I was driving down 285, I thought, wow, look at the chemtrails today. Let me catch a picture of this, because there was just an abnormal amount. And then later on when I was reviewing the picture, it was just kind of like, oh, wait a minute, what's this? Now, the other thing we forgot to mention, too, Joelle, was, remember on the left side of the picture, the two flashes that I thought were flashes from the camera that you say are not. But there were two bright, shiny, orby little things side by side.
Way to use the word, Kim.
I mean, I don't know what else to call it. There's definitely something strange going on. I'll just say that.
I got you, Kim. I saw the picture when you said it. I saw the picture.
And that's really what it did look like. It was two kind of white orby looking things. But it certainly didn't look like a flash. You know, she was like, at first she dismissed it, like, oh, it's just a flash in the picture. I'm like, your camera was pointed in the sky. What was the flash flashing off of? And when you look at it, it looks a little unusual. So, you know, here's a real-life experience. So, you know, that I feel like I don't have a good explanation for. Now, I'm sure somebody who's a scientist out there, if we have any listeners who have a scientific explanation, if you want to see the picture we're talking about, it's on our Facebook group, and it's unusual. If you've experienced anything like that yourself, we'd love to hear about it, you know. I know, Jesse, I've seen you in pictures where you have actual orbs of white light that are energy. You know, I don't know if they're interplanetary spacecraft, but, you know, definitely if you share about some of your orb and energy orb light experiences.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that, because as you were saying, I was kind of thinking about, you know, our consciousness is expanding, and it's growing rapidly. It's changing rapidly, and the things that we had no, even in our peripheral vision, we never noticed. Our outer reality, these things are starting to appear, and they're starting to appear in a more and more dramatic and obvious fashion. And, my personal take, and this is all that it is, just my personal take, is that, our outer reality and all these quirky, weird things that have been happening are really a reflection of our inner reality as a collective is shifting and changing. And, like you mentioned about the orbs that you saw in the picture with me, and it's like transformed quite a bit quickly. And, I'll self-admittedly say that I'm still a knucklehead, yet I'm working on myself hard. So, these kind of phenomena, it happens when you start to do a lot of inner work. And, the energies start to appear. Orbs are one form, that's one of infinite many, but other beings, they come around, and they're around us at all times. I just had okay, so we're on this radio show, and people don't know a whole lot about us, so I'm just going to go ahead and share a little bit about myself. But I'm an energy healer. This is what I've been called to do anyway, and so I've had many experiences up to this point now, where for me, my connection is feeling. It's very empathic. So I can feel presences, if that's a word, around me. I had a friend of mine who just passed, Joel, actually assisted me in working with him via distance healing. And shout out to Scott, I love you, brother.
Yes.
He passed away, but we had some really amazing experiences with him in the hospital, and he was looking up in the air, pointing at what he saw were angels, and then he would look over at me and then point back at the ceiling, basically. And so, those kind of experiences, they really, really open you up to new realms of reality. And
that's certainly a different possibility, for a lot of people, listening, that kind of experience has never been something that entered their realm of possibility, to know that you're in the presence of someone who's seeing a being outside of what is manifesting in 3D, that has to be a kind of perspective-changing experiences when you find out things that change the realm of possibilities for you, like we didn't know travel to the moon was possible, I guess, until we got there, and then it changed the whole realm of what was possible. So it's kind of like that in our everyday experiences too,
Absolutely. And, and the earth is shifting, the energy, the energetic frequencies. Kim, you mentioned the pole shifts, there's all kinds of different changes that are happening. And, it's manifesting right before our eyes. And I believe the more sensitive you are to these changes, it kind of equips you for the rapidness of the changes that are happening. And you can kind of, how do you say, not really warn people, but just kind of bring a little bit of awareness, and that's kind of it's kind of the double-edged sword, because you get these gifts to see these things or hear them or feel them or whatever it is, and then you tell people, and all your friends think you're crazy for the moment, until they start seeing it themselves, and that's for me what I've been experiencing, and it's an interesting walk to kind of start off tiptoeing in a silent fashion, because you don't want people to think you're crazy. But the reality is it's all around us. We're immersed in this energy soup, and these beings are all with us. So, Kim, what do you think? What do you think about all those things? Because we haven't had a chance to talk a whole lot extensively on a personal level, but what do you think about all these kinds of different phenomenon, and especially in relation to what what we're going through as a world culture.
Well, actually, it's kind of funny because I was getting ready to ask you a question. So, well, for me, the thing for me is that I know Miss J, I'm so sorry, Miss J, and you look at this. Sorry, Carl, to put you out there. But I unfortunately tend to take a more pessimistic look at things, and it's not because I want to. It's just because I don't like to be surprised. So I look at this, even though I recognize the shifts that are happening, and I think that some of these things, some of the changes that we're going through are changes that were inevitable, changes that, this is just what the earth is doing at this time. This is where we're positioned. This is where the sun is, all those physics that we just don't understand. This is what it's supposed to be. But I do think that some of the things that's happening to us locally, with our food, with our water, different things like that, I think that we are assisting that change. We're making it happen more rapidly than it would be happening on its own. And I think that it's not everybody's. I wish that people could just kind of see what's happening around us for what it is. But again, it's where you see the messaging is being corrupted, so people just don't get it. So the question is, how do you get it out there without seeming like you're a huge conspiracy theorist, or B, just a crazy person, or anything along those lines? It's kind of like that catch-22 for me right now, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's where. Go ahead, Jess.
No, I want to hear what you have to say, Ms. J. Go ahead.
Well, I think that's where kind of having conversations, I know a lot of our conversation just started one-on-one to say, I'm thinking something that seems a little funny. I'm thinking maybe JFK didn't get shot by Lee Harvey Oswald, and then you have a conversation with someone about it, and then that leads to an enlarging of your understanding, because you have somebody that then understands, well, maybe it's okay to question this kind of thing, and it's not crazy, and people who at one point in time were labeled conspiracy theorists turn out to be the ones who knew the truth, all along. So having conversations around the kitchen table, which translates into having conversations out in public and on the radio, I think the network that you see even cropping up of people, because I know at least 3 or 4 people who have shows that are talking about alternative things that are about the real message, not the programming message, and people are doing and talking about it, and you're seeing that there's a broader perspective. There are way more possibilities of how people are living their lives and believing what they believe and experiencing this reality than what we've been led to believe. So I think we're kind of like evidence of the shift, even in having our conversation here on the radio show today.
Most definitely, Ms. J. Especially, I've known you for a short time, not over a year yet, and I've seen you grow and expand and change, and bust out about 3 or 4 cocoons already, just in this short time. And it's a really awesome thing, when people actually have a reference place to actually recognize the courage and the bravery in the growth that we are experiencing, that you're experiencing in this energetic parentheses of time that we call the thing we call time. For me, I think I want to put the foundation from where I operate out there, and this is my perspective of the movement that we as humanity and beyond, just as a collective world group, we're moving. Our frequency is shifting, and what that actually does is we'll just say everything is energy. So everything is vibrating at a certain speed, certain level, and so when you shift like a musical note, a reality shift, and so with all the craziness, the madness that's going on in the world, it's kind of evidence for like a release of a lot of energies that have been kind of really played out for a long time, kept us confined in a reality, in a certain octave, a certain note that has created an experience where everything is separate. I'm in here in my body, and everything else outside of me is actually shifts your reality, and you see things for what it really is, and it's not something that you've learned, it's something that you experience. And I've had quite a few experiences that have shown me where nobody can tell me otherwise, because I know it for myself, that everything is everything. It's all one. And I know that's a cliche saying, but it's just real. It's just true. And when we find that truth, then it busts seams open, and here we are in a new reality.
Well, I think that
that's how I feel.
Turn on the lights, right? For real.
Hello, yeah.
I think it's interesting because science is showing, it's almost like every day there's so many scientific discoveries. If you're following space.com and some of the sites, there are planets and new discoveries about the nature of the galaxy and the solar system being discovered every day. And to me, that is thrilling because for a while it seemed like there was not a lot in terms of space knowledge being released, but now it's like wonders and amazements are being proven by scientific methods that we in society have said are acceptable, you know. And so in the face of that evidence saying that, yes, a butterfly wings do affect something across the planet based on physics, not even just in spiritual sense, but on the physics sense. That is so exciting to me because I don't know if it's giving people more freedom because it's scientific is now, you know, coming behind and validating, if you will. I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it's just we're kind of at that flat earth moment where we're about to discover that the world we're not going to sail off the edge of the world. We're going to keep on going, like, you know, in the 1400s. Maybe that's where we are in terms of the shift in our perspective and reality, you know.
Right.
I think it's just so much more. I think it's just so much more complex than we really can understand. And well, at least for me, it's almost kind of like a personal struggle because, you know what you've been taught if you've grown up in a religious background, or, if you're brought up in a strict religious upbringing, you know what you were taught. But if you are also a person who believes in science, those two things can sometimes conflict. So the question is, of course, how are you going to balance the two? For me, I think it is much bigger than the stories that we have in our Bible, because if you follow that, then that's putting a limitation on that being that you say has created all. It's almost asinine to believe that we're limited to this one little space that we know. The part that we've explored is all that there is. Just like Neil Tyson, deGrasse Tyson, whatever. Just like you said, we only know what we can see so far. But light is, it's still traveling. We don't know what we haven't seen yet. It extends so much further than us. Our energies, I think that the way that it goes, you've got your time, your space, all that. But there's so many more layers to it. We don't really know what our energy is. We don't know what our soul is. We know our soul is some type of energy, but is it truly that biblical sense, or is it an energy that just continues going and going and going and comes back and goes where it wants to go? I mean, I can't figure it out, and I don't want to try. I just want to go along for the ride. I guess.
Go along for the ride.
I feel you 100%, kid. And you said something really key that really stuck out to me. You said, I can't figure it out. the mind does not have the capacity to understand everything that is. It's just not possible.
Well, if we use the full mind, it would be possible, but we're not using our full mind. So let me speak up for the mind here to say about that other 90% that we're not using,
You're absolutely right, though, Mr. Because the other parts of the mind that are basically on, chill out mode, like it's not working like it parts of our mind are the parts we don't. We don't for sure. It could be all just a bunch of BS that's been given to us. Who knows? I know from my own experience. That's all. That's the only place I can speak from.
I guess I'm saying we don't know that it's actually dormant. It might be doing something, right? Whatever it might be doing might be actually what is saving us from catastrophe, right? But we're not at a scientific level where we can recognize. That's what I just wanted to clarify. Because it's not dormant. Nothing in our bodies really is dormant. Everything has a use and a function. We've been made like that.
Right.
So it's doing something, but we just don't recognize it is what I challenge to say.
I feel you. I think that the different realms of our brain, it opens up different realms of reality, and we're pretty much. I think it's changing quickly. I think more and more people are having more expansive experiences of expanded realities of being in more than one place at one time. Having astral travel, those kind of experiences, out of body experiences, people who've had near-death experiences can definitely give a certain perspective on the nature of reality and what we actually use as far as reference for what's true, what's not true, and I think that what I was talking about earlier with the elevation of frequency is that it's activating different parts of our being, and our brain probably holds that capacity to have that understanding, but it's not an understanding as far as a logical understanding. I think it's an understanding or a knowing, rather, that we're infinite and expansive in ways that we can't even comprehend at this point, just because we're continuously evolving.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. For people do you think that people have control over the way that energy or that vibration is affecting them? Because you're starting to hear, more and more in the news about people that are just basically going out of their minds and doing horrific things to people, left and right. People just seem to be losing their tempers. They're just, the regard for life seems to be diminishing fairly quickly, it seems like. And so I wonder if those vibrations for some people affect them on a positive level where they're like, we've got to fix this. We've got to, try to get everybody together and bridge this gap. And, those things that you do hear some people trying to get that message out. But then you've got others that instead are doing things like that. So do you think that in some way maybe some people are being affected negatively or having the wrong parts of their brains triggered? I mean, do you get what I'm saying?
I do, and I'm glad that you said that, because I was getting a lot of images as you were saying that, and I was getting an image of like a lump of coal with a diamond in the middle, and when when people are going through an elevated frequency transition, the coal aspect of our being, it's coming up because the higher frequencies, the coal doesn't resonate with these higher frequencies. The diamond in the center does resonate with these higher frequencies, and as we go through our experiences and these frequencies affect people, and it makes it creates chaos all these, it's just like any kind of breakdown. For something to grow, there has to be some kind of breakdown. Otherwise, it's just simply overgrowth. So, I mean, positive, negative, you could label it whatever we want to label it. It's just really more of a matter of perception. But if you look at everything just as it is what it is, then you can kind of see that there's more of a process. This is all my take. This is just my perception. I could be way off, but I know in my reality I'm not. Because everybody has a different point of reference. You know what I'm saying? So reality is just a matter of your own perception.
Thank goodness for individual realities.
Yeah. Hello, I'm loving mine. I know that.
Me too. I don't want yours. I got my own.
Right.
I think it's Don Miguel Ruiz, who I love his writings dearly, in the Four Agreements, who says, don't take anything personally because it's really never about you. You know what I'm saying? People are living their own lives. You're your own life. Your reality is your own. And so you never really know who you are in a person's reality. So just understand that and be at peace because they'll never really know who they are in your reality. If we look through our own eyes and we live through our own cumulative experience.
Yeah, you can't get mad when your perception of what your reality to them is not what their perception of your reality is,
Right.
Well, we are going to, before we get into the next part of this break from reality, we're going to take a quick break, and this is great conversation. As you know, we're from A to Z and everything in between. So if you have something you want to contribute, just give us a call after the break, 347-989-8851. You are listening to Are We Yet Asleep on WTLC Blog Talk Radio. See you in just a few minutes.
Are you looking to brand your business? Let WTLC Talk Radio market your business and product to help you get the exposure you need. For more information, call 415-496-5233. That's 415-496-5233. What are you waiting for? Get the exposure you deserve by allowing us to get your business information out to our listeners. Let us help you by advertising your business on WTLC Talk Radio. Call 415-496-5233 and have your commercial aired on WTLC Talk Radio, Baltimore's hottest online radio station.
Do you want to erotically express your passionate desires, enhance your romance, and explore the kind of intimacy you've never felt before? Then visit eroticexpression.com. That's right, eroticexpression.com. From edibles to couples play, Erotic Expression has what you need to fulfill your orgasmic pleasure. Visit eroticexpression.com. I promise your hot spot will be glad that you did.
And we are back.
Tonight, couldn't wait to get with you.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to take it in for this last 15 minutes. This is our second show, and you're out with Are We Yet Asleep? This is having a great time, so we hope you just hang with us as we get through our bumps and bruises. If you have anything interesting that you want to talk about tonight, we've been all over the map from A to Z. This is Joelle, Miss J, and I'm with Jesse and Kim, and we're having a great time.
Yes. So I'm curious, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying before the break you were talking about realities, so.
Right. So I'm kind of getting hyped because I'm feeling my passion on what it is that makes me go, what makes me tick here. And, I get excited about, knowing and understanding the truth that we have full capacity to be able to shift our own frequency, our own energy, and be able to roll with all all the changes without there being so much suffering. And there's the duality perception of you have good and bad, light and dark. You have love and fear. And my teacher, his name is Robert Pulaski. He's just an amazing being. He said there's only love, and he said that just so nonchalantly, but it stuck with me. It wasn't part of a lesson or anything like that. He just said it, and it stuck with me. And I pretty much abide by that. And that doesn't mean it's not horrible things that happen in the world, and any of the atrocities that I say, oh, well, that's just love, because I don't mean to say it in a disrespectful manner, but everything is love. And because without love, there can be no creation. So the point that I'm getting to is that when we allow our experience just to be what it is, and we don't fight what just simply is, the energy flows through us, and our ride ain't so bumpy. It's not so hard. And as we're able to, stay in that place of love, compassion, just loving kindness in all your expression and all that you do, it transcends reality. It transcends the dualistic reality, because you're operating from a place where there is only love, and that's a very, very high vibrational frequency, and that's the movement that we're experiencing here now. So if you're fighting it, that means that there's a lot of fears that are within that are keeping you in a very difficult and highly like volatile and suffering type of reality. So asking questions for yourself is really, really a key aspect. What do y'all think about that?
Well, I was going to say that, the Grinchy part of me, the cynical part of me, I feel like we're at a place where I recognize that not everyone has the same idea of love, okay? You would think that it would be universal to understand what it would mean, when you're admonished to love others, love self. But I would challenge the way that some people, and myself included, have probably manifested what I thought was love has not really been kind or loving at all, in the truest sense of honoring what it really, I guess, is supposed to mean to love. So it's hard, because how do you get everyone over, how do you find the common part? Because there's so many twists and turns, If the Muslims say love, then the Christians say, well, that can't be the right love. And the Christians say, well, it can't be the right love if it's the Jewish love. And the New Agers can't say, well, all of them can't be love. So, how do we get over the barriers of behaving and acting lovingly towards each other?
I think it's going to take that one big thing that just says, you know what, we're all in this together. Now, what that big thing is, who knows? But it's going to take some, I don't want to say divine intervention, because that's not the wording I'm really trying to use, but I'm saying it to kind of say the largeness of the enormity of what it would need to be in order to get everybody on the same page. Because as long as there's envy, as long as there's greed, as long as there's, a feeling of being superior, as long as those base animal instincts, the most deplorable of those instincts, are still alive and well and functioning in people, you'll never be able to have just a true harmony with everybody. It's just not going to be that, because there's always going to be somebody that wants to be in power.
I think that we're in the change shifting to that. I think that the old reality, that's part of what is falling away, hopefully, and maybe we're going to figure out that, this wasn't love, and this really wasn't necessary, and we can do it differently. And I think that might be part of what the momentum of the shift of the ages, if you will, or if you look at the Mayans and the prophecy saying that we've undergone some kind of galactic transformation during this time, to me that's what is my reality of what's being experienced right now, you know. So I don't want to say never. I feel like that's the old thinking that never can never happen, because I'm seeing things that surprise me every day of people reaching out in just human kindness and doing things different. You know, I see it around me, just even the way like Jesse and his family are invested in creating a small business that will be a large business that is about creating healthy bodies with holistic food and integrative healing services that they're doing as a family, you know. And I know other people, natural hair care stylists, and people who are, you know, just living differently and, being the change they wish to see in the world, you know. And I know more people than I don't that are starting to live like that, you know.
And I agree. I mean, and on a local level, you are seeing that. But I'm saying, honey, on a wide-scale world level, that's going to take that. Let's say I would be surprised if that was my lifetime. I could say that we're on the way there, but I don't know. I just can't shake this feeling that that we have to have some kind of clean start. You know, just like fresh material to work with.
What do you say, like a bomb go off or something?
No, not even necessarily. I'm not saying anything catastrophic. I'm not saying like a ELE type of an event, you know. I'm just saying that there's going to be some kind of something, just some kind of, shift if you want to call it, but just some kind of big, you know, pause.
Mm-hmm.
And
I feel you, though.
It resets. It's gonna reset, but it's gonna reset on such a big level. It's just that, you know,
right.
It's just you don't know what it is. But I really think that as we kind of it's like a computer trying to reboot. You know what I mean? All those programs are slowly shutting down, and then finally, whap, it restarts, and then your screen, you know, the system reboots, and everything's going fine. And that's where we're at right now. We're in that, you know, this program is ending stage before that shutdown.
And we talked a little bit about that last week, about how people kind of have this feeling of anticipation that something's about to happen, you know. People have this kind of waiting, like on pause. So maybe the whole world is on pause waiting for the ride to start going down the roller coaster hill or what. I don't, you know. I don't know, but I don't feel like a gloom and doom in my waiting. Like, a few years ago I might have said I felt like an impending sense of doom, right? I was pretty mad a lot. I was depressed a lot because I was pretty angry at the way the world was going, but something in me shifted and my perspective shifted, and now I don't feel doom and gloomy. You know, I actually feel kind of anticipation and lighter and, you know, happy and like, what's next? Instead of, oh my gosh, what's next?
Absolutely. And this kind of reminded me. I ran track when I was younger, so it's kind of, I'm gonna give a little metaphor. So I was in an important. So you had all the top athletes in California running, right? And it was a decathlon. So the last event was a 1500, which is basically 100 meters short of a mile. And I had never really done this. I had done it twice. And so long story short is I decided to just follow the guy that was going the fastest. So I stayed behind him and did well for the first 3 laps. Then I realized I ain't got no more gas in the tank. so I literally came around the last bend and I stumbled for 200 yards. Just to get to the finish line. Literally, like I was leaning my shoulders over my knees just so I could keep momentum going, and hopefully I wouldn't fall on my face. So, but thank you for laughing at me too, because I needed that. But the point of what I'm saying is, my determination was so just, there was no question about it. It was like, I'm in this race. I'm doing this. I'm here, so I might as well just roll this till my wheels fall off. And,
right.
And I just feel that way in life. I'm just like, man, even if the end of my lifetime as Jesse Simmons in this body rolls out and it's in a bunch of doom and gloom, like I'm gonna go out in a flaming ball of just love.
And that's how you
Because I don't want to go out no other way.
Well, that's why I'm laughing, because I can see that imagery of a kid, just barreling. That's great, you can make it just staggering over the finish line, even if I had to throw up afterwards. Okay, I'm ready.
Exactly.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's, just getting along for the ride. It is what it is. You're just going to have to figure out how you're going to do it. Are you going to enjoy it, take it for what it is, and experience all that there is to offer in the meantime? Are you going to stay shut in? Oh, my God, but what if? I don't feel like what ifing. I plan on doing whatever it is I've got to do. It is what it is. What am I going to do in the meantime? Enjoy it,
Yeah. It is about the ride. It really is about the ride. And I mean, it's even to go into a place of, like, I'm going to make predictions. Like, where do you make predictions from? You get your information from the energy that flows through within you. And for me, it's like, I'm like, there is no way from inside of me that it could go back. Like, we just went through all these dark ages, and, I'm talking about the history of humanity and everything. We go through all the dark ages, and then the shift goes flap, and then we're back in the dark ages again. Like, what? No, there's no way we can do
not
that.
this time, right?
No, sir. No, ma'am.
Well,
I'm excited.
I know we have to cut in because we're getting ready to go off the air. I wanted to just tell you thank you for joining us. We could keep talking probably all night about everything. Jesse, Kim, thank you. This has been a great hour. I'm going to have a lot of things to think about this week. I'm ready to get some roller coaster rides in. Let's look and see what's happening around us this week. Any last words before we go off?
Kim and Ms. J, I love you guys, and I think you guys are just awesome, and I'm glad that we're on. There's one person listening right now. Hey, I'm saying to you, too, I love you, and I'm just excited to be on this ride with y'all.
Well, just picture me with my hands up going, whee, as I'm going down the hill with y'all. So, all right.
We will see you all next week, same time, same place on WTLC Blog Talk Radio. Are we yet asleep? Good night, y'all.